Publicly against Rachel Zegler and blaming her for the film's catastrophic failure at the box office.
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on
The ongoing saga surrounding Rachel Zegler and Disney's big-budget remake of Snow White has erupted into a full-blown cultural firestorm, with voices like Candace Owens leading the charge against what many see as a narcissistic nightmare, threatening to tank a film backed by hundreds of millions of dollars. The backlash against Zegler isn't just about a single actress. It's a lightning rod for broader frustrations with Hollywood's relentless push of woke ideology into cherished classics. Disney, a company built on the dreams of princesses and fairy tales, now finds itself at a crossroads, accused of alienating its core audience by bowing to a hyper-progressive agenda. So, how did we get here, and what does this mean for the future of storytelling? Let's unpack it. Rachel Zegler, cast as Snow White in this live-action remake, was supposed to be Disney's fresh face for a new generation. The studio paired her with Gal Gadot, who plays the Wicked Witch in what they hoped would be a winning combination. But almost from the start, Zegler's public persona and outspoken comments turned her into a liability. Branding experts had warned Disney early on that a backlash against Zegler could spell disaster for the film, and those warnings have proven prophetic. The movie, already plagued by delays and controversies, now faces the real possibility of a catastrophic box office failure, and many are pointing the finger squarely at its leading lady. Imagine you're Disney. You've sunk hundreds of millions into a project meant to reintroduce a beloved tale to modern audiences. You've got a legacy to protect. Snow White, after all, was the studio's first animated feature, a 1937 classic that defined its identity. And then your star starts making waves, not for her talent, but for her cringeworthy hot takes and unrelenting virtue signaling. What do? Do you double down, hoping the storm blows over? Do you recast, scrapping years of work? Or do you try to pivot the narrative, distancing the film from its controversial figurehead? Disney's response so far seems to be a mix of denial and damage control, but the cracks are showing, and the fans aren't letting it slide. The criticism of Zegler isn't just about her acting, it's about what she represents. Candace Owens, a prominent conservative commentator, has been one of her most vocal detractors, delivering a takedown so blistering it reportedly drove Zegler to post a tearful apology video. Owens didn't mince words, calling Zegler deranged and accusing her of turning an on-screen rivalry with Gadot into real-life chaos. The flashpoint came when Zegler tweeted her support for Palestine, a move that might have been just another day in woke Hollywood. Except for one critical detail. Gadot, her co-star, is a former member of the Israeli Defense Forces. That tweet didn't just spark debate. It unleashed a torrent of death threats against Gadot, putting her and her family in genuine danger. When the backlash hit, Zegler didn't back down or show remorse. Instead, she doubled down, brushing off the criticism with a cold indifference. That stunned even her defenders. To Owens and others, this wasn't just reckless. It was emblematic of a broader, woke way. Say whatever boosts your clout, consequences be damned. For Disney, a company banking on nostalgia and family-friendly appeal, this was a nightmare. The Snow White remake was supposed to evoke the magic of the original, a story that captivated generations with its simple tale of love and redemption. Instead, it's become a battleground for ideological warfare, with Zegler at the center. This isn't just about one actress's missteps, it's about what Disney's choice to cast her says about their priorities. For many fans, the original Snow White represents a time when fairy tales were allowed to be fairy tales. A princess, dreaming of a handsome prince, a happily ever after that didn't need a political agenda. But today's Hollywood, driven by what critics call big bad feminists, rejects that vision. They argue it's ridiculous to aspire to traditional femininity. Why would you want to be swept off your feet when you could be the prince instead? To them, the 1937 cartoon's focus on romance is outdated, even problematic. True love? That's just stalking. Chivalry? Toxic masculinity. In their eyes, empowerment means erasing the very qualities that made these stories timeless. Disney's remake reflects this shift. Early reports suggest Snow White won't be saved by the prince, and her dreams of romance have been sidelined. Zegler herself has leaned into this reinterpretation, famously quipping that the film isn't about a love story, despite casting Andrew Burnap as the male lead. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby, she said, a flippant remark that only fueled the outrage. To fans, this isn't just a tweak, it's a betrayal. They accuse Disney of injecting unnecessary feminism into a classic, stripping away its heart to appease a vocal minority. And at the helm of this shift is Zegler, whose every statement seems designed to provoke. Owens seized on this, arguing that the woke agenda isn't about empowering women. It's about control. It's about tearing down traditions and shaming anyone who clings to them. In her view, Hollywood's obsession with rewriting norms isn't progress. It's indoctrination. And Ziegler's behavior only proves her point. Take her "launching my campaign" comment. Some dismissed it as a joke, but Owens and others see it as a calculated move, a seed planted to normalize absurdity. They draw parallels to political figures like Kamala Harris, arguing that qualifications and competence take a backseat to identity politics in the woke playbook. To them, Zegler isn't just a bad actress, she's a symptom of a larger, more insidious shift. The controversies don't stop there. The film's handling of the dwarfs added another layer of outrage. Peter Dinklage, a well-known actor with dwarfism, criticized the remake for casting a Latina Snow White, progressive, sure, but sticking with the stereotypical dwarfs. Disney's response? They ditched real actors for CGI dwarfs, claiming it avoided reinforcing harmful tropes. Fans and actors alike were livid. Little people who already struggle for roles in Hollywood saw this as a slap in the face, erasing them entirely rather than giving them a chance to shine. To critics, it's peak woke hypocrisy, preaching inclusion while sidelining an entire community. Amid all this, Ziegler kept pouring fuel on the fire. Her Instagram post after the 2024 election, wishing harm on Trump voters, was the breaking point for many. "I hope Trump supporters and Trump himself never know peace," she wrote, lamenting a world she feared would force her future daughter into unwanted motherhood. The backlash was swift and brutal. Owens, Megyn Kelly, and even some liberals torched her for targeting half the country with reckless rhetoric. Commentators argued that if a conservative had said the same, they'd be canceled overnight. For Disney, banking on Zegler as their princess, it was another PR disaster. The pressure finally forced Zegler to apologize, but her tearful video rang hollow. "I'm 21. Please forgive me," she pleaded, framing herself as a flawed young woman learning from her mistakes. "My break is not my end," she waxed poetic, comparing herself to a cracked statue still worth seeing. But to Owens and others, it was a textbook non-apology, more about saving face than owning up. Nobody bought the victim act, least of all the fans who'd watched her double down time and again. If she were truly sorry, they argued, she'd have shown accountability, not leaned on her age as an excuse. So where does this leave Disney? The Snow White remake has been in limbo for years, scandalized by Ziegler's antics and the studio's missteps. Its budget has ballooned, its release delayed, and its reputation tarnished. Some wonder if it'll even see the light of day, or, if it does, whether it'll join the ranks of IMDb's worst-rated flops. For reference, films like Disaster Movie, 1.9 to 10, and Geely, 2.6 to 10, hold that dubious honor, plagued by poor execution and public disdain. Could Snow White follow suit? Box office failures often stem from a disconnect with audiences, and Disney's insistence on woke messaging might just seal its fate. At its core, this debacle isn't just about Zegler or even Snow White. It's about a clash of values. On one side are those who cherish the original tales, where femininity and romance were celebrated, not vilified. On the other are the architects of a new Hollywood, determined to dismantle those ideals in favor of a genderless, politicized utopia. Owens and her allies see it as a war on culture. Disney sees it as evolution. But as the backlash grows, the question looms, who's really winning? For now, Zegler remains a lightning rod, her every move dissected by a fed-up public. Disney's gamble on her may yet pay off, or it could mark the moment they lost their way. Either way, the fallout has exposed a truth Hollywood can't ignore. You can't rewrite the past without risking the future. And as the release date looms, all eyes are on whether this Snow White will rise or fall, and whether Zegler's reign as a woke princess will end in triumph or tears.